7th grade math, test 20 study guide, problem number 1 says a man charges a proportional fee for his service. For 11 hours he charges $616. And then they give us two fees and ask which of those would be proportional to his. So what we do is we take his fee and we put money on top, right? Money over time, and we divide those two and get the hourly rate. It's $56 per hour. So fee number 1 is 6.5 hours for $104. So again, we put money on top, divide money by time, and that's $16 per hour. Fee 2 for 14 hours, the fee is $784. So if I do 784 divided by 14, that's $56 per hour. So fee 2 is the same as is proportional to his. Problem number 2, we have to enter the value for C, but what we do is we take the second expression first and we distribute. I can do my rule for subtraction first. Distribute 9.3 times 2x is 18.6x. 9.3 times negative 6.6 is negative 61 and 38/100ths. So for that expression that asks us what does C have to be, they're asking us what number goes there. C is negative 61 and 38/100ths. So we're on problem number 3 now. Number 3 says find the value of 5 times this quantity. Well, what you do is you go inside first. Now you could distribute, of course, but it's easier just to go inside and add those two since they're like terms, they're both constants, right? So 9.4 times 5 is 47. Next problem, number 4. They give us an expression and then they said 4 students were trying to write equivalent expressions to this. So what we're going to do is simplify first. We always simplify first. So I did my rule for subtraction here. I do 2 sticks, right? Add the opposite. Then I distribute the 7 here. 7 times negative 7x is negative 49x. 7 times 2.2 is 15.4. Combine like terms. Add my 2 x's together, I get negative 50.75x. Add my 2 constants together, I get 10.9. So if I look at Isaac, I'm not going to do any work yet because I see these are x's. These two I'm going to add together, but this is the only constant. If I compare that one and only constant with the constant I'm supposed to get, I see they're not the same. I'm not going to bother doing any work for that. I know Isaac did not create an equivalent expression. So if I look at Madeline, Madeline has these x's, but only one constant. The constant is the same, so I'm going to check. When I check and I take these two numbers together and I add them together, I see I get the exact same expression. They may not be in the order, but the same order, but they're the same expression. So Madeline created an expression that's equivalent. When I test Chloe, Chloe has 2 different constants and 1 coefficient. But if I look at that coefficient, that's not the same as the coefficient I'm supposed to get. So I'm not going to do any work for that. I know Charlie, I said Chloe, didn't I? This is Charlie. Sorry about that. Sorry, Charlie. So Charlie didn't work. If I go down here for Chloe now, there's Chloe. And for Chloe, there's only one x, one coefficient in front of x, right? So if I look, it's the same, so I'm going to test that. I'm going to take these two and combine them. And I see that when I combine them, I get the same constant as the first expression in the problem. So my answer is 2 students had the same expression as the given expression. Number 5. We're going to write the description for the solution for this if it were to be graphed. So if I solve this, I subtract 7x from both sides. Subtract 7 from both sides. Then I divide by negative 2. Remember, when you divide by a negative, you have to reverse inequality. So my answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now on a number line, that means closed dot because of the line underneath. Greater than means everything to the right. So it's a closed dot on negative 2, arrow to the right. Number 6 says, Mallory has $32 and earns $12 an hour babysitting. She wants to buy something for $240. So this $240 has to be, or actually the amount of money she makes has to be greater than or equal to what she wants to spend. Right? She can't make less than what she wants to spend. So that's why the mouth's trying to eat this side, not this side. So to solve this, I work farthest away from the variable. Then I divide. And in case you had any issues with the division, I'll show it down here. Pause the video if you need help with that. But as you can see, I get 17.3, and then it keeps going, but I can stop. Because if it has to be more than 17 point whatever, she has to work at least 18 hours. Even though this rounds down to 17, if she stopped at 17, she would be short of money. There's some situations where we always round up. This is one of those situations. Here's another inequality, number 7, that says Ashton has $22 to buy candy. He picks out 4 lollipops that are 15 cents each. He wants to buy some sour candies that are 35 cents each. What's the maximum number of sour candies you can buy? Well, he's got $22. That amount of money has to be more or equal to what he spends. Okay, so this time the mouse got to go this way. So I multiply these two first, and then I isolate the variable by doing inverse operations. If I go 22 take away 0.75, don't forget to line those decimals up. You should have got 22.25. Now when I divide by the coefficient, notice I don't reverse the inequality because I didn't divide by a negative. And then when I divide these two, I can show that work over here. I go in and out. I got to clear the decimal, right? So I got to clear the decimal here. And it's 60 point whatever. But it doesn't matter if this rounds up to 61 or not, because my answer has to be less than this. Because if I buy 61 candies, now it's too much money. This is a situation where you always have to round down. So for number 8, Wendy's filling a 10,000 gallon pool, so that's where we get the 10,000 from. She already has 2,000 gallons, so that's our B, right, our starting point. Sorry, I mentioned B, that's 8th grade knowledge here, so forgive me, 7th graders. So she already has $2,000, so we put the 2,000 here, not next to the X. And then she started adding 32 gallons per minute. So 32 gallons per minute, it's times each minute, so that's why the X goes with the 32 and not the 2,000. But now if you think about it, we don't want, the question is how much until it overflows. So that means the amount that it holds has to be more than or equal to the amount that she pours in. So that's why the amount is going this way. But if I look, I don't see this exact equation, but I see something equal to that, where the 10,000 is on the other side. The amount is still trying to eat the 10,000, and everything else is the same. So answer is D. Number 9, if each person in your family uses 70 to 90 gallons of water each day, 5% of water is used for brushing teeth, washing face, washing hands. Find the range of water used for those activities if 4 people lived in your house. So there's a couple ways to do this. First of all, you can find 5% of 70 using percent proportion. Remember, it goes is over of. Cross multiply and divide, and we get 3.5. But that's 3.5 gallons for these activities. That's 5% of 70, right? But there's 4 people, so we multiply it by 4. Now, you can do the same thing for the 90. Or another way you can do it, and you can do that for this one as well. If they want you to get 5%, you can do 10% first because that's easy. 10% move the decimal one time. 10% of 90 is 9. Now, 5% is half of that, right? 5% is half of 10. So half of 9 is 4.5. Again, multiply by 4. You see our range is 14, 18 gallons. Either way works. If I got a shortcut, if they asked me 10% or even 5%, I would do the shortcut. Otherwise, this way always works. Even if they ask me for like 7.5%, right, this way will always work. 10 says, we're going to write a line. They said that cost is Y and gasoline is X. So what I do is I take the point they give me and I put Y over X. There's my equation. That's my Y, that's my X. Done. Number 11, a woman bought an item for 6.5% tax. That added $7.50. What was the price? So this question is asking us, $7.15 is 6.5% of what number? And since the percent proportion goes is over of, that 715 goes on top. Multiplying by 100 is easy. Move the decimal 2 times. Divide by 6.5. Works down there if you have any issue with that. So you get 110. So moving on to 12 now, which is $110, right? I should have labeled that $110. Sorry about that. So number 12 says, there's a 20% off sale, a $45 item. How much did you save? So we got to find 20% of 45. This time, I'm finding 20% of 45. Remember, is over of. This time the number goes on the bottom. Cross multiply and divide, and we get $9. Again, dividing by 100 is as easy as moving the decimal 2 times. Number 13, they gave us a fraction, and they asked us to write it as a decimal, so that's just where we divide in and out. There's the work for that one. 14, they give us two fractions, and they say, what's the fraction in between these two? Well, I want to get common denominator, so I can get this 8 and multiply it, this 2, multiply it. I rewrite those two fractions. 3 halves is 24 over 16. 1/8 is 2/16. Which of those fractions did they give us is in between? The only one that's in between is 3/16. Number 15 says, how many numbers are equivalent to negative 8.5? Well, negative 8.5, if I read it, that's negative 8 and 5/10. So I can write that as a mixed number and reduce it, and then look at my options. If I were to convert this into an improper fraction, 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. 17 over 2 is negative. So that works. 3 negatives is still negative, so this works too. This is the same. You can see it right there, and this is the same, so they're all the same this time. Sometimes it's 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's all. Check all 4, please. Okay. So, 16. We had to simplify this expression. We add our two x's together, we get 3x. We add negative 6 and 2, we get negative 4. 17. So for 17, if we're going to look at this kind of ambiguous looking number line, I'm just going to assign numbers. I'm going to say each one of these is worth 1. In that case, A is negative 2, B is 2, and C is 4. If that's true, I can simplify these expressions and answer these questions. And the question asks us, which of the expressions given are greater than 0 means positive? Expression 1. They say A minus B, so I take negative 2 minus 2. That's a negative number. That's not greater than 0. B. A plus B means negative 2 plus 2. That's 0. That's not greater than 0. That's equal to 0. C. B take away C is 2. B take away C is 2 take away 4, which is negative 2. That's not positive. 4. C take away A. C is 4. Take away A. A is negative 2, so you need 2 negatives for that part. When I draw my 2 sticks and do my teams, I get 6. That one works. And 5 works also. Negative 2 plus 4 is also positive. So my answers are 4 and 5 for number 16. Sorry, that was number 17. Number 18 now. We have these two figures, okay? And then they give us a scale down here. So the small figure, this corresponding side, the proportion of this over the ratio of this over this will be proportional or equal to this ratio right here. So I'll put small over big equals small over big. I got 9 over x equals 1 over 2 and 1/6. Cross multiply, this times this. I got to convert this into an improper fraction. Do my factor trees and cross out my 1s. And I got my answer is 39 over 2. And that's reduced because I did this work right here. Number 20. We have scale drawings. Scale drawings means everything's in proportion, so we look at corresponding sides. So the distance from here to here corresponds to this here to here. And this one's missing, but I can just use this side to find that missing length. So I'll put this over this, big over small, equals missing big over given small. So they tell us from here to here, this distance is 10. And on the smaller map, it's 5. So I put big over small. And then, so I put big on top, right? I need to know this distance right here so that I can use my scale. So I got to find that. So whatever it is, I'll put a variable over corresponds to this distance, and they gave us that in the problem, 1.5. So here's our first proportion. We solve by cross multiplying and dividing, and I see that this distance on the big map from here to here is 3 centimeters. And then they tell us every centimeter is 50 miles, so I multiply 3 times 50, and I know that in actuality it's 150 miles to that between those two places. For 20, I know that circumference is 2 pi r, or pi times diameter. But they ask me to find radius, so I'll use the formula that has radius. They say the circumference is 67 and 7/10. So I put 67 and 7/10 where the C goes, because that stands for circumference. There's my 2. Pi is 3.14. I multiply these two first and divide to get radius. They say round to the nearest whole number, so it's about 11 centimeters. And this problem you can use a calculator on, but not the others. So make sure you only practice with this one and not the others. All right, hope that helped.